Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. I'm going to talk about computing. So this is a computing talk, just a little bit from an unconventional angle, okay? But still a computer science talk. So, computers changed the way we organize our society. That's crystal clear. Computers modified everything. We wouldn't be able to understand the world today without computers. However, funny thing is that our understanding of computing dates back from 70, 80 years, okay? And it hasn't changed. We still define computing in the same way. We still understand something is computable in the same way. Computing is still the same. Okay? So let's try to change that. Let's try to move on. And there is an opportunity to do so by using not microchip technologies, but living matter, DNA, genes, regulators, proteins, living cells, and so on, in order to build computational devices. So the understanding of computing dates back from Alan Turing, okay, that within some other people in the field defined what he called a computing machine. Okay? At that time, computing machines were not physical machines that were on top of the table that you could just log in and send an email or something like that. Okay? Computing machines were mathematical abstractions, okay? Just theoretical games in which people were analyzing, were studying how inputs were related to outputs according to different rules, instructions, algorithms, and so on. That was the computing machines. So that's that you have over there. That's the Turing machine. Okay? A Turing machine, as I said, is not a physical thing. Okay? It's a mathematical abstraction. A Turing machine is quite easy. It has a tape with information, with data on it, a head that reads, writes, and moves along the head according to some set of instructions and set of rules. Those are the three items of a Turing machine. That's our current understanding of computation, that of a Turing machine. If you cannot solve a problem with a Turing machine, that computer won't be able to solve it. So that's not computable. Okay? So when we look at a living cell, and that's the inside of a bacteria, that's a cartoon, of course. When you look at the inside of a bacteria, you see information everywhere. Information as input, information that bacterial cells are taking from outside, from the environment, information inside the cell. DNA has a lot of information encoded in it. You see rules and instructions on how proteins bind the DNA and read different genes, and so transcription, translation. Those are rules, those are instructions that are taking information from at input and delivering some other information at the output. Okay? So in my laboratory, when we take a look at living systems, we tend to take a look at them from the computing point of view, from the information point of view, and try to modify these information flows in living systems. So, as I said at the beginning, a model of computation, what a computing machine was 70 years ago, was just a theoretical thing, okay? It's a mathematical abstraction. Then it happened to be that electronic engineers were very good at whatever they were doing, and they came up with some technological tools that we could use at that time to physically build computers, okay? To physically implement what the theoretical model of computation was trying to represent. Okay? So for instance, that computer can never be as powerful as a Turing machine, because a Turing machine needs an infinite tape, and that's impossible to build physically. So physical implementations are just approximations to what computing machines can do. The starting point of biocomputing, okay, and the starting point of my laboratory is that, okay, we are going to physically build model of computations, these theoretical mathematical abstractions, but we are not going to use microchip technology and electricity and all that stuff. We are going to use living technology and genes and genetic networks and living cells. So in the same way that whenever you want to build a conventional computer, like the one you have on top, you can be implementing different type of combinatorial logic circuits, like logic gates and so on. You can play with finite state machines, Turing machines. You have a lot of different information in order to be able to try to represent that physically. In biology, there are plenty of different tools that have evolved during millions of years in order to process information. You have gene regulation, you have metabolism, you have processes, such an evolution, and we can indeed modify all these little processes of information. We can go and edit some new gene regulatory networks that didn't exist before. We can edit metabolism in a way that didn't exist before. And at the end of the day, what we have is a bacteria with some additions in it, what we call a program, okay, that is going to turn a bacteria into a functional piece of device that didn't exist in nature before, and it's going to perform the computation that we are after. So this is a couple of examples from my laboratory, and this is the typical stuff that we do in biocomputing. Over there, in the left-hand side, you have the easiest possible program that you can implement in a bacterial cell. You see a green cell up above with a program that is very easy. It says, if true, then green. Okay? That means whatever happens, so if it is true, you need to produce green fluorescent light. Okay? The program in the cell down below, in the cells, because there are two, the program is identical. Okay? It's but instead of green, using red. If true, then red. That's as easy as possible. Okay? But it shows how these programming living systems work. In fact, what I just said, that the cell below is not a cell, two different cells, that's one of the beauties of this paradigm, okay? Because once you program a cell, that program, that computing machine is going to divide and grow and copy itself, okay? Something that, of course, cannot be done in conventional computers. That machine is not going to grow and replicate. Okay? On the right, you have a slightly more difficult piece of circuit, piece of computation. That's a NOR logic gate. Logic gates are pieces of combinatorial processing, okay, that are used on a daily basis in electronics, in microchips, and so on. For instance, what I always say is that the Apollo 11, okay, the guidance controller of the Apollo 11 was built only with NOR logic gates, a bunch of them all connected, okay? And the combination, okay, was able to do all these computing calculations to calculate the trajectory. So that's an example, the measurements, the graphs that you see down below, an example of a measurement of a NOR logic gate using genetic technology that we program in a cell. Okay? So we run the simulations. This is a very interdisciplinary work. Okay? So we need to design the function that we are going to get. We need to design how we are going to physically implement that function. We run simulations, mathematical models, mathematical simulations, computational simulations. And finally, we implement that in the lab and test it. So NOR logic gates and a few logic gates all connected together, okay, what we also do, are way more challenging and difficult than simple programs like that one, but are doable, and we work with them on a regular basis in the lab. One of the main challenges that we are facing with biocomputation, with this cellular computing paradigm in my laboratory and in others, is to try to identify what makes this technology unique from and is different from a conventional technology. For instance, evolution. Okay? That machine is not going to evolve. It's not going to adapt to new scenarios, new environments. A cellular computer can, of course, evolve. In fact, it will evolve, whether you want it or not. Okay? That's another challenge, how to deal with evolution and try to control evolution for the sake of implementing computing machines. That's a very well-known drawing, by Darwin on the way back from the islands and so on, exploring different ideas of evolution. And in my laboratory, we tend to see evolution as a computing process. Okay, it takes a system as an input, a living system. There is an algorithm that tries to solve a problem. The problem is surviving in an environment, okay? And that algorithm goes through mutations, selections, and so on, and finally arrive at a solution. That's the output, and that's a living system that has adapted to live properly in that environment. The solution doesn't have to be always the same. You see 4 different solutions for the same type of algorithm, evolutionary algorithm, evolutionary problem. And evolution is actually a very, very powerful tool living systems have, and that's something that we are trying to control for the sake of building these cellular computers. Here on the right-hand side, you see my illustration of how I picture an evolutionary Turing machine. Okay, is not that far off. Okay, a Turing machine that is not only going to do what a Turing machine can, but way more things, because it's going to adapt to new scenarios. So it's a completely new paradigm of computing, but I think that, of course, we are ready to try to challenge our understanding of computing and going beyond. So let me go back to this notion again, because I think it's very powerful. The Turing machine, the current understanding, and what evolution has managed to do. And it happens to be that now, due to, I don't know, synthetic biology, some other biotechnology processes and so on, now we can quite routinely edit and program living systems. Okay, potential applications. I would say, okay, disclaimer here, that my laboratory is a fundamental, basic research laboratory, okay? And we are trying to explore how these living computations and cellular computers can be effectively designed and implemented. Okay? But we are also trying to think about what is the domain in which we are going to be applying these computers. And this is the latest example from my laboratory. So we are trying to target environmental applications, environmental problems to be solved computationally. Okay? Environmental problems, because I don't need to say this, okay? But it's quite obvious that ecosystems worldwide are collapsing, okay, due to us. And there is an opportunity here to restore the balance of that ecosystem if we reprogram the microbes that are already there. Bacteria are everywhere. Okay, that's good news. Okay, bacteria are everywhere. We wouldn't be living if we hadn't tons of bacteria everywhere. Okay, ecosystems are full of bacteria, trees, animals, whatever. No? And the bacteria are the lowest level of ecosystems. They work so that the ecosystems work. If the ecosystem is declining, if the ecosystem is collapsing, there is a potential challenge here in order to restore the balance of the ecosystem by reprogramming the bacteria that are in that bottom layer. Okay? So that's this is a tiny laboratory example of what we are doing. We have some plants ecosystems that are happy, and we are trying to solve here what is a decision problem. Decision problems are at the core of computing. A decision problem is, for instance, okay, are there any prime numbers in this list of numbers? So the algorithm is quite easy, okay? Go one by one, taking a look at the numbers, and say yes if there is a prime number. That's a decision problem. It says yes or not to a given problem. Here the problem is the environment okay for the plants to grow? Okay? Our cellular computers are monitoring that question and are going to give an answer. If the environment is okay, the plants are going to grow happy. If if the environment is not okay for the plants to grow because it's full of pollutants and so on, our cellular computers are going to say, okay, the environment is not correct, And the output of that algorithm is to restore the balance, okay? So that the plants are happy again growing in that environment. So that's the type of applications that conventional computers cannot do. We coined a term a couple of years ago that can be popular, which is the term cellular supremacy. Okay? In a parallel way to what quantum computing people are doing, they claim that they are going to achieve the quantum supremacy, meaning that quantum computers are going to outperform classical computers at specific tasks. We also coined the term cellular supremacy, saying that cellular computers are going to outperform classical computers at specific domains. A classical computer cannot do this, right? So cellular computing is already here. Okay, this is not science fiction. Only in the next year, in the previous year, I was interviewed by a couple of very big public media, the MIT Technological Review and New Scientist, on this new flavor for computing. Okay, so cellular computing is here, and in 5 years, I would say, that we need to make this science a little bit more robust till it becomes relatively routine in laboratories. Okay? So I don't know who here in the audience, funding agencies maybe need to hear this, but we need to push. Okay? We need to push this science forward as much as we can. In 10 years, we should be mastering what makes living systems unique, like evolution, as I said before. Okay? And in 25 years, it will be the time for applications like environmental applications, health applications, and who knows what is the potential of this. So that's it. That's it for me, and I will be happy to take any questions.